Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the North Lincolnshire series, a district of 56 parishes in the north of Lincolnshire. Let's see which one we're visiting today. Welcome back to North Lincolnshire, everybody. Now today we're in another town, and this is that town's high street. It's not very busy at the moment. As you can see, it's a little bit on the dead side, but I imagine at times it probably does get a bit busier than this around here. And we're starting at a pub. That right there is the Butcher's Arms. That's our first major landmark in this place. And across the road, there's another landmark which we'll talk about almost straight away, and that's this White House here. You can see it's got a plaque above its door, and I'll tell you what that plaque says in a few moments. Welcome to the town of Winterton. This North Lincolnshire episode is sponsored by Past Days, a family history blog by June Terrington. You'll find her link in the description. And this video is also sponsored by Jamie's Fitness Studio, based on Low Road, Graham, near Curtin in Lindsay. Jamie is one busy lady. Check her out by calling 07906 749 574 or emailing hello@jamies.co.uk. Online membership is available. There's a link to her Facebook page in the description. Jamie's Fitness Studio. Get fit, get happy, get healthy. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Winterton is a civil parish with town status situated 5 miles northeast of Scunthorpe, close to the southern bank of the River Humber. The Humber Bridge is just 8 miles away. Winterton has a history going back to Roman times, much like Roxby. Several large mosaic floors and other Roman remains have been found here. You might remember me making a minor reference to Wallace Sargent in an earlier episode. He was one of the world's foremost astronomers and the director of the Palomar Observatory. Whilst he was born in Elsham, he attended Winterton Comprehensive School, the local secondary school, which has now been renamed to Winterton Community Academy. Winterton is twinned with a small commune in the Loire-Atlantique department of Western France called Saffre, and there are many references around the town to its French counterpart. Speaking of associated settlements, we discussed in neighbouring Wintringham that both Winterton and Winteringham's names refer to Wintra, the first of the kings of Lindsey. In the Domesday Book, Winterton is recorded in a number of ways. Once as Wintrintune, 4 times as Wintrintone, twice as Wintritone, and once as Wintritune. Thank heavens they've settled on a name now, right? Here's Winterton, folks. Our route around Winterton begins at the Butcher's Arms, right in the town centre. This is a well-appointed, popular local pub with strong emphasis on food. What Pub tells me live music is staged here fortnightly and it has occasional mini beer festivals. That sounds like the kind of venue I'd be interested in for sure. It's one of 2 pubs we'll catch on this route. Directly across the road we have Winterton's post office, and the high street is lined with many an independent local business. This white cottage I was referring to dates back to the 1500s. It's interesting because above the door it says John Wesley preached here in Winterton on the 8th of August 1761. For that reason, this is known locally as Wesley Cottage. And handily, here in the town centre there's a town council notice board. That means we can get this formality out of the way nice and early. Winterton is visited, folks. Make that 14 to go now in North Lincolnshire. Now, if you need public transport to Winterton, buses are your friend. Winterton High Street, you can catch the 350, the 355 and the 560 all here at this bus stop, just up from our next landmark, which is a park. The park in question is West Street Park. This recently underwent a refurbishment which included play equipment, a recreational area and seating. Funded by Winterton Town Council, the project was completed in the spring of 2021. Opposite the park we have Gilby House. This is a nursing home which provides accommodation for 22 people with mental health issues, physical disabilities and complex and challenging behaviours. Now we come to Low Street, which runs parallel with the High Street, but it's much more residential than it. These flowers are a sign of things to come. Winterton is kept looking lovely by the Winterton in Bloom group. The building with the green frontage you see here is Rich Toy Motorsport, which sells cars. Established in 1999, its owners, Richard Clayton and Toyne Fox, spent 2 years renovating the once derelict No. 2 King Street. So we're going up Market Street. There's a fabulous clock on the wall here above Rich Toy. Look at this. It says 1999 underneath the minute hand. Here we have the local chippy, Market Hill Fisheries. Next door there's a large co-op. It's a world away from Scunthorpe this, but of course at one time it was the principal town in North Lincolnshire. As recently as 1860, the population was only around 1700 and Scunthorpe was still a bit of a dream. Heading up through the marketplace we've got some more flower planters. This one in particular displays the words Winterton Town Council. Next is the George Hogg, the other pub. Prior to a period of closure from 2006 until 2010, this used to be known as the George Inn. When it reopened, it had undergone a complete makeover. Inside, you'll find an intimate upstairs restaurant. On the wall outside is an engraved stone, which was placed here in 2003 to commemorate the 10th anniversary of Winterton's twinning with Saffre. It's some 465.3 miles or 748.7 kilometres away in western France. Okay, next it's the church, and there's a plaque on the wall here. It says, "Welcome to All Saints. This Grade 1 listed church dates from before 1100. The site has been in continuous use for worship since ancient times." I'm hoping it's open, so we have a look inside this one. Didn't manage to get into the church in Roxby last week, did we? So, or into Appleby the week before, so hopefully this one's open. Let's have a look. No, it's locked. It's locked. Oh well. Never mind, bit of a blank on this trip into North Lincolnshire then for getting inside churches. Sorry, all the fans of the interiors of these. It's exterior only, I'm afraid. In the churchyard we have two crosses. The smaller of the two is a Grade 2 listed medieval cross shaft. The one on the right is much more modern. It dates from 1906 according to another small plaque right next to them both. All Saints Church sits in the heart of Winterton's conservation area. It has an early Romanesque tower, a medieval nave, medieval aisles, chancel and transepts, and it's had a series of restorations dating from the mid-17th century up until 1904. Around the back of the chancel we find the War Memorial. This was erected in 1920 and bears the names of 41 men lost to war. Very few people have ever managed to ascend the Tower of All Saints, but the views from the top are quite magnificent apparently. Check out the link in the description to a site I found which shows you what you can see from up there. Just around the corner from the church we've got a building with some bricked up windows, obviously not used anymore. Above the bricked up door as well, it says the Jubilee Club. Wonder what that was. It turns out it was the former Jubilee Working Men's Club. Let's talk chapels next. Winterton has had 3 primitive Methodist chapels built in 1820, 1838 and 1879. These new houses, Chapel Court, stand where one of those buildings used to be. Around the corner onto the aptly named Chapel Lane, there's the former Wesleyan Chapel. Winterton's first Wesleyan chapel was built in 1777, again on Chapel Lane, and this was replaced in 1837 with this building. A short footpath now links us to the B1430, West Street, and we've got some educational buildings to see here. This large building is a children's centre which is situated in the grounds of Winterton Junior School. Opposite that, we have the entrance to Winterton Bowls Club. This has run successfully since 1936, making it the oldest sports club in the town. The current mayor of Winterton, Don Johnson, is heavily involved with the club. So it always intrigues me when I see an area of new builds which are obviously infill, like these are here. We've seen this, earlier in this video, haven't we, with Chapel Court next to the old chapel. I wonder what used to stand here. Maybe you Winterton locals can let me know in the comments. This is the entrance to Winterton Infant School. Both the infant and junior schools are members of the Winterton Federation. Here's something quite cute. The infant school has a mascot named Woody, who is a butterfly. In front of that is an old school hall. This is a community centre now, and in 2009 it was extended with the addition of an annex. It's available for hire to any non-for-profit community group. Winterton's WI are based here. Next door at number 52 West Street we find the Winterton Town Council offices. This is known locally as the Ark for some reason. The council has 9 members and the offices are open daily between 9:30 AM and 2:30 PM. Next door to those we have the entrance to the MKM Stadium. This is where Winterton Rangers, the local football team, play their home games. They play in the Northern Counties East League Premier Division, the 9th tier of English football. So as always, it's an unwritten rule I have: if there's a football ground to see on a route, we must go and find it. There's more than just the football ground up here. We've got a library, we've got a local link gym and skate park. Pedestrian access only, by the way. Can't bring your car up here. So let's go and have a look at the football ground first. It's that building you can see straight in front of me. The club was established in 1934. They were originally an intermediate side before becoming members of the Scunthorpe and District League in 1935. In 1965 they joined the Lincolnshire County League and then the Yorkshire Football League in 1970. They've won the Yorkshire Football League on 3 occasions. Rangers have only ever used 2 grounds in their history. Originally based at Watery Lane, this piece of land off West Street was purchased specially in 1950. Right next to the stadium we have this building. This is a library, local link and fitness centre which opens every day of the week, albeit with varying hours. Generally though, you'll find this open until 8 PM during the week and 2 PM at weekends. Around the back of it there's a skate park, and that's as far as we can go up here. I was hoping there was some kind of shortcut through to our next landmark, but no such luck on that front. I guess I'll have to walk round. I do like seeing a good football ground, grassroots football. It's something I'm not terribly au fait with every single league below the National League, but obviously I do know the existence of most of them, and Winterton Rangers I have heard of before because they have played against my local football team where I live in Rotherham, Parkgate FC. I live not far away from their ground and I keep meaning to go there and show you that at some point, so keep reminding me and I will. Leaving the football ground behind, we head through a housing estate next via a few helpful footpaths. This is Dale Park Avenue, which is off Northlands Road, a generally newer area housing-wise compared to what we've seen so far. It's linked to Newport Drive, where we find Winterton Community Academy. Originally Winterton Secondary Modern, it became a comprehensive in 1968. As well as Wallace Sargent, Baroness Redfern, the former leader of North Lincolnshire Council, is a notable alumni. Next to the school is a synthetic football pitch according to this sign. It can be hired out between the hours of 5 PM and 10 PM on school days and from 10 AM until 6 PM at weekends and bank holidays. Opposite we have some playing fields. Officially known as Newport Playing Fields, the building you see before you is the Winterton Community Pavilion. This was opened in 2013 by ex-England football manager Graham Taylor. Now then, I wonder if there was a windmill around here somewhere. Obvious clue, Millfield Court, with a picture of a windmill above the words. After a long walk down North Street, we arrive at this junction where Winterton's two major roads, the B1207 which runs north to south and the B1430 which runs east to west, meet. It has a nice little green area with some more flowers. It's where the B1207 changes its name from North Street to Hart Lane, and then a short way south of the junction it turns left and becomes Park Street. We're going the other way along King Street. That big white house, by the way, is Osborne House. So we've seen the old Methodist chapels around the town. Here's the current one. At 32 King Street we have Trinity Methodist Church, which was constructed in 1961 and 62, and its architecture is typical of that era. At number 20 is Printer's Cottage. This wasn't open, but check out this gorgeous old printing press in its window. I don't think I've ever seen one of these before. Fun fact, the printing press was invented in Germany in 1440 by Johannes Gutenberg. So this brings us back into the town centre from the other direction. There's a few more shops here. We've got Winterton Dental there, a shop called The Shed. We've got Floral Designs Florist and Cornerstone, which looks like a cafe. It's closed today though. We've also got a rather large Tesco Express. It's going to get across the road. I reckon this is an old pub. It certainly looks like an old pub, and there's a big clue on the wall. Here, look. There's two crossed keys. I wonder if that was called the Cross Keys at one time. Yep, my suspicion was spot on. This was indeed called the Cross Keys, and it was a pub and a hotel. As recently as 2005 it was still trading as such, although I couldn't pin down an exact date as to when it became a Tesco. It has at least retained its character. At number 4 South Street, the road directly opposite the old pub, we have Waterbeck House. On the wall there's a plaque just like the one on the thatched cottage in Appleby, which tells us this is a listed building. Also along here is an old police station and courthouse. These buildings date from 1853 and were probably designed by J.S. Padley, built before Scunthorpe became the main town in North Lincolnshire. And passing that takes us on to Watery Lane, which is the beginning of a network of good walking paths to the south of the town. Watery Lane is connected to Roxby Trods, a well-known footpath which runs south into the countryside. Now I would imagine after a good bit of rainfall this path probably turns into something of a river because these gullies are not very deep either side of it, and while that provides drainage, I would imagine it still covers this path when it's wet, so that's probably the reason why it's called Watery Lane, to be honest. Now this is quite interesting. I didn't know this was going to be overhung by trees. It's like walking through a tunnel, this. About a mile to the southeast of the town, by the side of Ermine Street, is Holywell Spring, whose water was considered a medicinal cure historically. I don't know whether this house is a reference to it, but it's called Spring Cottage. We're almost all the way around the town now. Watery Lane ends at Manlake Avenue, and directly opposite that is Sowers Lane. At the top of Sowers Lane there's a handy little path which will take us to Eastgate. On Eastgate we find Winterton Fire Station. This was established in 1953 and it serves both the town and the surrounding villages. It houses one fire engine and one co-responder, and it's crewed by on-call firefighters. And from there it's a simple case of following the B1430. Eastgate turns left and becomes Northlands Road South for a short distance before turning sharply right again and becoming West Street. And just like that we find ourselves entering West Street Park from the other end where we were earlier, and our start point of the Butcher's Arms, which we were at about an hour and a half ago, is obviously just at the end there, and take a left. And that's a complete circular walk of Winterton. although we're not quite done with the town yet. There are two areas, one to the east and one to the west, which I still need to talk about. One of them is Winterton Showground. We're going to go there right now. To get to the showground, we're driving up Park Street. This is a mostly residential road, but there are a few things along here of interest, like for example MSM vehicle refinishes. Keep your eyes on the right of the screen though. Just before the end of Park Street is number 92, better known as Dent's Cottage. You can't miss it, it's built in Gothic style, and originally I thought it was a castle. It was remodelled between 1830 and 1835 by H.F. Lockwood of Hull. In the garden is the tomb of Jonathan Dent. Born in Roxby in 1740, he was a moneylender. He became very tight with his money and gained the reputation of being a miser after losing money when a bank failed. This then is the entrance to the Winterton Showground, where the Winterton Agricultural Society hold their annual show. Its 150th anniversary was earlier this year. It's traditionally held on the first weekend of July. It's also used throughout the year for other events. The showground occupies some 30 acres of land. At the show are all kinds of displays like classic cars and tractors. There's also enough room for trade stands, sideshows and other entertainments. Virtually next door is Winterton Cemetery. This was established in 1876 under the control of the Town Burial Board. It covers some 3 acres of land and it has 2 mortuary chapels. One of those chapels was open, so I had a look inside. They're pretty basic, but then again, they were never designed to be anything else. It's unusual to find one of these open, but after a little look around, it didn't take long to work out why. So the reason this is open is because in here there's a book of condolence for the late Queen Elizabeth II. Now I haven't signed one of these anywhere yet. I imagine I'm going to be finding plenty of them from now on. So every time I come across one, I will leave my mark in them. So yeah, I'll sign this one here in Winterton, see how many more we come across. From the cemetery, I took a drive back along Cemetery Road as I made my way to the other end of Winterton for the final landmark. On the way, I took in De Lacy Way, a street which we haven't yet seen. Arguably the largest landmark on De Lacy Way is De Lacy House, which is where you'll find a rehabilitation centre called the North Lincolnshire Council Intermediate Care Centre. That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Keep your eyes on the left of the screen as we drive up it. You might just catch a glimpse of it. For the rest of the drive, it's pretty much residential in nature, so I'll use this opportunity to mention 2 things I haven't been able to fit in elsewhere. Firstly, Winterton once had a railway station. Called Winterton and Tealby, it was on the North Lindsey Light Railway. It opened in September 1906 and closed in 1925. I should also mention a famous former resident, William Fowler. He was born in 1761 and lived on West Street in a house he called Parva Domus, which is Latin for little home. He was educated here and worked in architecture. A talented builder, some of his most famous buildings include the stables at Cleetham Hall. He was also a self-taught painter and engraver. He was so famous for his work, he was asked to meet the royal family to show his drawings. He died in 1832 and he's buried right here in Winterton. So after all that walking around and driving around, it's time to stop for some food. There's a Spar shop here, close to where I've parked, underneath this tree here. And a few paces away, we've got Gray's Butchers. Now, I know how much you like to see local businesses, so there you go, Gray's Butchers right there. And when I'm finished with this area, I'm going to drive to the finishing point for the Winterton episode. And I do believe I've left the most interesting bit of the town until last. Before I do that though, I'm going to give you today's picture bit. So to finish off, you find me on a farm track which leads to Old Cliff Farm. Now, I can't go into Old Cliff Farm for obvious reasons. It's private, which is a bit of a shame because behind it there's the site of a Roman villa. It's an oblong shape and it's basically earthworks, and it'd be great to see it, but unfortunately we can't. However, I can tell you a bit about it, and to go with it I can also tell you a bit about something that was discovered when the A1077, which is where this farm track leads to, was widened a few years ago. This is the story of not just the Roman villa, but also the Winterton lady. This image is not the Winterton Roman villa, but it shows what it would have looked like. It was first discovered in 1747 and is one of the most archaeologically complete villa sites in the whole of England. It comprised several buildings surrounding a courtyard. 5 large mosaics, including this Orpheus, were found at the site. You might remember a similar mosaic from a previous episode, Hawkstow. Along with the villa, burial sites have been uncovered in Winterton. The most notable of these came in 1968 when the A1077 was widened. A skeleton was found, buried in a limestone sarcophagus. The skeleton belongs to a Romano-British woman. Standing some 5 feet and 3 inches tall, these are the bones of the Winterton lady, believed to have died at the age of around 20 to 25 years old. It's not unreasonable to assume that the Winterton Roman villa was her home. Her skeleton, the sarcophagus, and a model of her facial reconstruction are on display in the North Lincolnshire Museum in Scunthorpe. So I've actually come out onto the A1077 to wrap this one up, mainly because I knew I hadn't caught the garage, Roxby Road garage and Roxby Road tyres, but also because I need the A1077 anyway to get back to the M180 to go home. Who would have thought that a humble road in North Lincolnshire would hold such an historic secret as the Winterton lady? Fabulous, isn't it? You never know what you're going to find in these places, and I'm sure they certainly didn't know they were going to find that when they widened the road. Time for me to go. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the town of Winterton, and I'm out.